Charlie Kaufman. How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you. Day 3, is it? ShutterFest?
Day 3, ShutterFest 2025.
Yes.
It's my first time here.
You're joking.
Yeah. I was told to come, and then Sal and Alyssa offered me the opportunity to have the show here, and this is different. I like it. It's much more hands-on, less corporate feeling, if that makes any sense.
It's hands-on, and ShutterFest is, like Texas School, they're what I call community shows. So you normally see the same people every year. It's a family, and it has a really good vibe. And that's one of the reasons that Click Backdrops likes to keep coming back, because we've also become part of that traveling road show
Right.
as such, and the family. But it is very hospitable, very not cliquey, but family-orientated event, whereas other larger shows are just shopping events or competition events, and this is a very different vibe. Well, as you've seen.
Yeah, I would say definitely the whole competition, the shopping aspect of it, lectures and etc. You see people photographing in the late hours. Yeah.
Till midnight.
I tried doing that yesterday. I finally photographed some stuff. I mean, my body hurts. I do so much in-studio work where everything is practically on wheels, hauling stuff up and down. My God.
That's how these people roll. A lot of these people don't have studios and don't have access to the models or the equipment or the backdrops or the beautiful location. And it is a very solid concept. They've built something quite special, especially in these very difficult times. And uncertainty is something to look forward to. I think most of the people here treat it almost as a vacation or a vocation, a vacation with the benefit of their art as well.
I would agree. It's interesting. I met you at the very first imaging I attended. Or no, it wasn't my very first imaging. It was at Louisville. That's where I met you. It was last year. And you were teasing. I remember you telling me about the backdrops and everything else, and you were teasing like, oh, I'm coming up with something portable. Like, just waiting to see. You're going to love it. Tell me about Click Backdrops and what you guys just done with the Westcott.
So Click Backdrops originally spawned because I am a photographer, like yourself, 36 years professional, started on my 15th birthday, studio-based location events. I don't really do events anymore. I just don't have time. And we own a group called the Click Group, which is the biggest marketing company for photographers, probably worldwide. We've had that since 1994. And about 12, 14 years ago, we were coming back and forth to the US all the time. And I noticed every event I went to, WPPI imaging, etc., there was 6, 7, 8 booths just selling backdrops. Huge variety. And in the UK, we just didn't have it. We had Chinese imports. We had American imports. We had next to nothing homegrown. And we had paper. Or the bigger studios like myself, we used to bring an artist in and they used to paint for us, So I wanted to bring a backdrop brand from the US to the UK, and doing all my due diligence, I worked out it was just easier from a shipping point of view to make them ourselves. But we had no inclination to bring it back to the US. Why would they want British backdrops in the US? You already have so many multi-million-dollar backdrop companies here. So I didn't even bother, didn't even think of it. Started exhibiting in the UK, and some US photographers were speakers, and they go, oh, these are great. Why aren't you in the US? I said, what are you talking about? You've got
all these different ones.
All of them. They said, well, yours are better. There's something about them. And I put that down to our backdrops are all made by photographers for photographers. So everything is to scale. We're not a print house that just prints an image. If it's a door, it'll be the right height of a door. If it's a wood floor, the planks will be the right width. I've seen some backdrops where the bricks look like Legos, and it just...
That's true.
And you and I, as photographers, we look at that and be annoyed by it because it's just never going to look real. And it grew. And we've grown 25% year on year, straight through COVID, all the way for the last 12 years. It's now the biggest part of our company. We now manufacture in-house with our own factory. And surprise, surprise, US is 80% of our entire export. We actually ship from the UK to the US for less money than most US backdrop companies ship internally.
Go figure.
So it works out less. Then all the photographers our customers, our loyal customer base with some incredible US ambassadors and now US designers, people like Gary Hughes, Kelly Schneider, Anna Brandt, etc. They were saying, look, we only want to buy from you now, but you don't do the foldable products. And Gary Hughes, as an example, as a headshot photographer on location, doesn't want to take a 5-foot aluminum pole or a backdrop on it everywhere he goes. So we looked at the foldable solution. Humongous investment for us to put that machinery into our factory, and we haven't got the room. But we have done a deal under license with a very prominent printer in the US who specialize in backdrop manufacturing. And literally, ShutterFest is the first proper show we've been able to show off what we call ProFold backdrops. Unlike some of our competitors who do 4, 5, 6 different materials, we've just chosen the most premium available because we are a premium high-value brand. We're not low end of the market, as most of our customers are not either.
You can tell.
And thank you. And we then looked at the X-Drop system from Westcott. Great system, extremely portable, very limited on the designs for the backdrops.
Very few variety there.
We have over 1,000 designs, which, funnily enough, is one of the smallest ranges of backdrops compared to some American backdrop companies that have 10,000 designs. I think my staff would leave if I gave them that amount of inventory to work with. And we started printing the X-Drop Fit. We call them X-Fit backdrops. 5x7, 5x12, so it has a train, 8x8 and 8x14. And surprise, surprise, this is the first show we've had it properly on view, properly selling, and it's been the biggest selling thing we have going for us right now. Because people have the frame already.
Right.
They're just bored of white, grey, green.
Yeah.
A couple of old masters, they want something different. And these are machine washable, they're tumble dryable. The material is beautiful. People have gone round the show and said, this is where we're going to invest with the backdrops. But we still sell our existing vinyls and pro fabrics but as a premium product. So we're now hitting both sides of the market, the more affordable and portable and the high-end studio-based products as well.
I know when you gave me that book, you're like, select which one you want. I'm like, oh my God. It's like, it's going to take me so long to figure out which ones I'm going to get. But the variety and the options are it's liberating in a way because I'm not stuck with those colors and have to extract.
And we do custom. So we have lots of photographers who come to us and say, right, we are doing a Wizard of Oz themed shoot. We want a 9 feet by 9 foot backdrop. We can't copy the Wizard of Oz things for obvious copyright infringements, but we will design them a Oz-like backdrop. One of the best examples, we have a photographer who specializes in underwater photography, and he has our vinyl backdrops 15 feet by 9 feet submerged in his saltwater swimming pool for up to a year
Really?
at a time, Christopher Chandler. And he takes them out at the end of the year, hoses them down, puts them back in their tube, and they're as new.
I took his class, by the way. So yeah,
You did.
I did see it. I did see it.
So we have those in there. And we've done him upside down world. We've done him underwater with pirate ships sunken in there. So you can literally have whatever your imagination is. I think AI is scaring a lot of photographers, but if you actually embrace it and use it to your advantage, and I don't mean just making dolls of yourself, which I was one of the first people to do. If you actually use it to the business model, it means we can literally create anything for a photographer that they want to do.
Wow.
Simple as that.
I didn't know that. I know that you guys had the backgrounds. I didn't know it was that custom, and that's how.
Yeah. Custom sizes, custom designs, no issue at all.
You know what I like about you when I was over there and I was asking you about the backdrops? You're like, just feel. And I'm like, it's not the other one. And you get what you pay for, right? I bought plenty cheap backdrops, many of which that go unused. But the ones that you guys have for the headshot work that I do, and even some of the portrait stuff, it really opens it up. And when you mention full to scale, it makes sense because I've seen some of Gary's work and I see the background. I'm like, oh, I thought you were on location, man. Like, that's all background. That's pretty cool, man.
I like an event where we are surrounded by other backdrop companies. It's no different to a car showroom. If you look at a car showroom in any city in the world, they're normally 5 or 6 on a street, aren't they?
Right.
Because they want, if someone's going shopping for cars, they'll go to one area and they've got, Mercedes and BMW and Nissan, etc., all in one area. And it's the same with backdrops, because I'm so confident of our quality. Our customer service, to be honest, is exceptional. I had, because the ProFolds are not even on the website yet, so people cannot buy them unless they reach out to me. Frustrating, but it's 4,000 lines of SKU we've got to write on a database manually to get them online. So Gary Hughes I said, look, put on your posts if you want to reach out to me. And the comments I had back from yesterday from someone who bought 2 or 3 8x8s. She said, do you ever not reply in seconds? And that's just how we roll. We always have done. I'm personally available to my customers 16 hours a day, 17 days a week. I get calls and orders Christmas Day, New Year's Day. People and photographers, when they're not working, that's when they want to reach out to us. And I don't see the point of an out of office message. If I'm available, if I'm not physically sleeping, because I travel a lot, then you'll get a response immediately from us.
I got that personal experience when I asked you a
Oh, you
question
did?
about potentially photographing a friend of mine, and literally within a minute, you're like, boom, boom, boom. I'm like, my God, aren't you? And then like 4-hour difference from me.
Yeah, but I don't see the point. I spoke to somebody at breakfast yesterday and they said, oh, look, I've got 350 emails to get to tomorrow or something. I couldn't think of anything worse. As things come in,
Yeah.
they're dealt with, if I physically can, instantly. While the company is small enough that I'm able to do that, we had investors looking at us a few years ago, and they sat me down and they said, right, we're interested in buying the company. So what's your role? I said, well, I do the sales, I do the procurement. Oh, we can get someone that will sell better than you. I went, okay, you don't need to go to all the exhibitions. You don't need to set them up. What else do you do? I do all the buying and purchasing. Well, we got people that do that better than you. I said, so what do you want me to do? Because I'm not going to just sit behind a spreadsheet all day long.
Right.
And that's their idea of what I was going to do. So that deal lasted a minute and a half.
Well, I mean, it kills the brand instantly.
It's not what we want. Then my tech team, which we outsource now, right, what we're going to do, we're going to put chatbots on the website. No. They said, what do you mean? I said, why do I want a chatbot? They said, well, you might be getting 50 sales calls and 50 sales messages a day. I said, that would be my dream. Just to be sitting there. If I'm watching TV at home, got my puppy on my lap, my wife in the room, and I'm sitting there responding, taking money, sales, sending payment links. That is much more enjoyable for me than whatever's on the box.
Yeah.
Because I'm giving you a great service about a business that I love. And like you, this is your business, your baby. No one is ever going to be as passionate about a business as the owner. I have an old saying, which I live with, he who has shares cares. So you can have staff care, and most of my staff have been with me 8 years, 10 years, 17 years, etc. But it's the owner of the business which will always have the invested
Absolutely.
part of it. And while I can respond to everything instantly and give customers that bit of Britishness as well, because we do get that as well. People actually enjoy the banter, especially Gary and I, who I think will be on your show later. One of the best videos we have is when we just sit there arguing in front of each other on video. And we should have had a reality TV show over us, because the compadre and the piss takes and the even just looking at us as we walk into a room, is comical. Anyway, if I stand behind him, you don't even see me. They go, where's Charlie? I go, hello. I just pop up behind the giant of a man. But it's fun. And Gary's our director of photography. The nice thing about, again, shows like ShutterFest is who you meet along the way. So, i.e., I met yourself, I met
Right.
Gary Hughes. Now I go to the Gary Hughes karaoke parties. That's where I can hang out and
Those are fun.
and see Jerry Kahona sing, and he is incredibly good singer. We could see Peter Hurley let his hair down and sing, and you can have that off time chat with people and fun. Then you build up relationships with other vendors, i.e., we've got stuff here now that's going straight to Texas school, and one of our luggage broke. They're taking it in their minivan for us and driving it there for us. And it's that camaraderie and that friendships that you build when you're on the road, which is pretty impressive. And as a backdrop brand, we are really one of the only internationals. So you've got Westcott that will obviously sell all over the world, but not personally. It's done with distribution. Canon obviously is in every country. But from a backdrop company, the big American ones, although they might sell internationally, they don't exhibit. And we exhibit at all the main shows in Europe, all the shows in the UK, all the big 7 shows in the US. We exhibit at all of them purely because we love being face to face. Because until people touch that backdrop, they can't understand why it is where it is in the marketplace. And as you personally felt, you went, oh, okay, I get it now.
Looks like a nice shirt.
You
People
have
say
to touch and feel.
it doesn't have to say a brand, but you can feel quality. And if you
100%.
feel quality, at that point, it's up to you, right? Do you want to buy it or do you not want to buy it? Because sometimes you spend a little bit more, but you get a much better return at the end.
Well, we have a saying, penny wise, pound foolish. Do you want to
true.
buy it once or twice or 3 times? The market we don't have is the Christmas market, because not yet. ProFold will solve that. But our normal backdrops, the average backdrop's $400, $500, $600. People don't want to spend that for a backdrop they can use for 30 mini shoots and then bin it for next year. Now with ProFold, where we start at $120 starting point, including delivery, that will change.
That's going to drastically change.
Yes. We will become a higher volume business, but still maintain that personal connection with the client.
So how do you juggle the operational business side of Click Backdrops with your artistic photographer side?
Well, the studio suffered. So we used to shoot 1,500 to 2,000 shoots a year, completely generated by our own marketing business. So we don't do anything else. They just pop into the diary. Now, because of Gary and my workload, so we disbanded the studio staff. And because literally when we weren't there, the average sales just weren't there. So now Gary normally shoots, I sell, or I'll shoot and sell myself. We do instant viewing. There's no editing or nothing before the viewing. It's all instant. And we're now only open in the studio about 4 or 5 days a month. But when they're open, they're open.
Right.
So we'll do, I think last weekend was an average weekend. I think we did about $5,500 in sales, dollars. That was 6 shoots or something.
Nice.
The average sales in the UK are about a quarter of the average sales in the US.
Why is that?
British people haven't got the size of the homes for the wall art. We don't have the high school seniors market at all. It doesn't exist. We don't have the sport market near enough at all. It doesn't exist. It's rolled into just school photos. They'll occasionally do a team photo. We've estimated, with my accountant and myself and a couple of other industry people in the UK, we've estimated that the size of the social portrait market in the US is 65 times bigger than the UK.
Wow.
So you can't just say the population's 8 times bigger, it's going to be 8 times bigger. It's a more popular commodity. Which is one of the reasons why the backdrops do so well, is because there's a much bigger demand. There's more studios, they're bigger studios, they're turning over more money, so they've got more money to reinvest. And they just get it. They understand. Without alienating me from every other brand in here that sells cameras and gizmos and lenses and all the other stuff, it's only in front of the camera that the customer actually cares about.
Right.
The average photographer has 5 to 6 lenses, uses 1 to 2. I use 1 lens in my studio, the equivalent of a 70 to 200 for everything I shoot. If I'm doing a boudoir and I just need to get up high, I'll put my 24 to 70 equivalent on. But the customer cares about, first of all, if you have a studio, how it smells, the restroom, the wall art on the wall, that just the touch and feel of the place, because it's an experience, not just a photo shoot.
Right.
And then they care about what you've put in front of them. So if you're just going to do it on a green screen and stand there and go clickety click and then do everything in AI, they're not going to get into that zone that if you have a full bedroom set up for boudoir, or we've got a huge superhero set with rocks and girders and iron chains and everything that we actually retail all over the world. It's called Kapow. We have the same for Enchanted, for Fairy and Elf, where all the dresses are handmade, and they cost me thousands originally, but we've generated over $1 million in sales in our fairy shoots because people get on set and the kids believe in it.
Right.
We put old ladders and crates and materials and things to build the sets. And then obviously the backdrops with our remote control backdrop systems that we retail. We've got 29 backdrops available at any one time at the press of a button in our one little studio.
And they get to see what it looks like right there and then, too.
Correct. Every single shoot we do gets a minimum of 3 to 4 backdrops. Every shoot. even if it's a family shoot and they say, we've come in from a Groupon deal here, we bought a $20 voucher, we get 1 8x10 free. We just want the family, nothing else. We don't want to be tempted. Don't do the kids. Don't do me and my wife. Just please the family of 4. No problem at all. I'll shoot it on 5 backdrops. They'll get 5 completely different looks, like it's been shot by 5 different photographers. We won't just shoot it on white. In fact, Gary and our production manager, Dominica, sort of ambushed me in December last year. And, we've got sets built in the studio. We've got 4 remote control roller systems. We've got the panoramic 15-foot wall with our magnetic system with backdrop stuck to the wall.
We saw those.
And we had our white set. As a photographer for working in studios since I was 16, I've always had a white set. Bare feet, jeans, white t-shirt. I normally start my shoots on the white set. And and we have a boudoir set on the other end of the room. Dominica came in and said, right, sit down. I went, what are you planning? I knew they'd been up and I've got really OCD. I'm on that spectrum like so many photographers are. I hate change. I hoard everything. Right? And they said, we're getting rid of the white set. I went, come again? We're getting rid of it. Really? Why? Gary, the ceiling and where the white set is 10 feet high. The ceiling where the boudoir set was 8 foot. So he sold it to me that he wants to rebuild the boudoir set on the white set. So he's got the height for boudoir to have higher lighting. So he's the expert. I said, okay. And we're going to put backdrops all the way around. Be a great showcase to show people how you can make a full room set out of our backdrop without any decorating and with a budget which was under, a few $100s. I said, okay, but we're not going to have a white set. He goes, well, we can always turn one of our vinyl backdrops round. We've got a white set. You know what? I haven't missed it once. I've done about 100 shoots since then. Average sales have gone up about 20%. And he said, what do you want a white set for? We're a backdrop company. We have to lead by example and show people that white is dated. It's from the 80s and 90s when I started. Everyone was just white. They almost look like they're floating sometimes, because there's no definitive floor. And I've actually enjoyed shooting in my own studios. I'm doing quite a lot of the shoots at the moment just because of Gary's timeline and schedule. And I've really enjoyed it because there's some times where 6-7 months I don't even pick up a camera. But I've really enjoyed getting back. Don't tell him this, but I do have the highest average when I shoot and sell, it is the highest combination average.
Good thing we're not recording ads, right?
Yeah, so he doesn't need to know. You know what? He won't even watch this far. What he'll do, he'll watch my recording back the first 3 minutes and say, yeah, it's really good. And he won't even watch this bit. So that's fine. But when he shoots and I sell is then the next average down. And then when we used to have other freelance staffs, that was the next average down again. You just put it's like no difference to a football team, is it? Or a soccer team. Your strongest players are brought out for the big games and, the weaker players for the weaker games. So because we only shoot so infrequently in the studio now, it's got to be A team all the way.
That makes sense. No, that's
Simple as that.
You mentioned picking up the camera. What was the last time you did a personal project?
Oh my God. Well, I'll tell you what, personal projects to me is when Gary and I do content. So I'll give you I don't know how long we have, but I'll give you a little insight, which is quite fun. So Gary's only been professional photographer for about 15, 16 years. He was actually law enforcement. So technically, although he is now a master and triple fellowship, 3 times British Photographer of the Year, yada, 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 yada. He's won lots of shit. Okay. I think I came 7th in the egg and spoon race at junior school. That was the last thing I won. I have an honorary fellowship from the Biggest Association in Europe, which was very nice, which he said isn't real. But anyway, so I don't shoot for competitions. He obviously has done. He's won tons of them. I just never had time. And I'm not one of these photographers, and I don't want to sound like a mercenary. I'm not a photographer who wakes up 5 a.m. on vacation to catch sunset. And, I'm the photographer that 5 days into the vacation, the wife will say, did you bring a camera with you? Okay, that's me. So for me, it has always been about shooting to sell. I will get more excited when I photograph a function and they spend $25,000 on a christening album and wall art. To me, that's the more kudos than winning anything for me, because the customer's appreciation is more important to me than a judge's one. But during COVID, Gary was a designer at that point. He had his own business. He had a studio in the north of England, north of the Wall, to those who watch Game of Thrones.
No,
And that's why he speaks funny and not proper like I does. And we were friends. He did some talks at conferences for me. He was a great Click ambassador and designer, but we were both bored. We were in lockdown, but we were allowed to commercially shoot. So he would drive down 4 hours each way, once, twice, 3 times a month. And that was when I actually picked up the camera, started shooting content together. And I learnt so much from his, not his education, but just watching him work. Things that I knew before he was even a photographer that I'd forgotten. I wasn't using a light meter anymore. Now I don't work without one. I wasn't, so conscious about light as I now am, etc., working with an Ilinquam ambassador. And I fell in love with that part of it again, but creating content for Click backdrops. So there's a few shoots that I've done when he's not there. It's difficult when he is there, because when he sets up the lights, I can't really say it's my work. So there's a couple of content shoots. I did one with a sword swallower that no one else wanted to watch what was going on. And I don't give a rat's about someone sticking a curved sword down their throat. That's one of my favorite shoots I've done as a photographer. And it's a good shoot for all intents and purposes, shows off the backdrop perfectly, because that's all I do. When I look at a shoot and Gary's doing all this artistic stuff and I go, yeah, great, but can't see the backdrop. No use to me at all, but there's a fine line. We're sponsored by Fujifilm, so we made a huge leap. Gary was an alpha creator for Sony. I was Canon since Canon came in with digital cameras. I literally took all my Canon gear in a black sack to the retailer at a trade show, say, there you go. And we're not ambassadors with Fujifilm, we're sponsored by them. So we work extremely closely with them. We get all the latest gear as it comes out. Gary uses the medium format, the GFX 102. I use the, oh my God, XH2, I think it's called.
They have some very numerical and alphabetical.
Yeah, I'm dyslexic as well. I can never remember all the numbers. But I use the SLR version. He uses the medium format version. We love them. We've got the little new XM5 vlogging camera, which you would love. And it's nice to pick up gadgets. Photographers love gadgets, don't we? We love toys, we love gadgets. We spent 2 minutes talking about cables and we went on air. And I do enjoy it. Going mirrorless has changed the way I shoot. Obviously, it saved my back. I don't know why the camera companies don't use that as a huge selling point.
They have a back massagers back there,
Yeah, but why aren't the camera manufacturers using the mirrorless transition, saving your spine?
Yeah.
To me, that's the thing that's a big deal, especially being vertically challenged. It's safer because I don't need to go up on ladders now. I can lift the camera higher, tilt the screen down. I'd have to look through viewfinders. Normally, I would be on a ladder for a third of my shoots in the studio, a third. Now that's a thing of the past. I don't need it at all. But we can't tell them how to run their business. That's for them. But so it is fun. I do enjoy that type of shooting. But it's people, and it doesn't matter. There'll be times that Gary will be shooting family and there's an 18-month-old in there and he goes, I need you, Charlie. And kids that age group, 2 up to 3, 4, they're putty in my hands. I go into entertainer mode and we actually had a kid walk into one of my shoots. As they walked into the studio in the car park, they fell over, grazed their chin, their leg, they've come in tears. They're driven an hour and a half to be with us. There's a fairy shoot. Parents said, I think we might need to rebook. And it took me about 8 or 9 minutes, and that kid forgotten everything.
Wow.
And that's when I did my apprenticeship when I was 16, and I looked at this 50-year-old photographer acting like an absolute fool and a buffoon. And I'm quite a reserved person. And I looked at him and went, never, ever could I make noises like that and look like such an idiot in front of people. You do it very quickly, and they spend. People are buying into the experience, aren't they?
Yeah.
With everything we do.
Who did I have the conversation with? I think it was Sal. I was talking to Sal about, branding, and you look at some of these different brands, these luxury brands. Take Tiffany's. They sell silver. Silver you can buy fairly cheap, but you're not paying for the silver. Yes, you're paying for the designer, but you're also paying for the experience. All these places, whether it's photography, whether it's art, jewelry, They make you feel wonderful. You remember how they made you feel, and from it, you get something. And it could be wall art, could be jewelry,
100%.
could be a car, could be anything. So, I'm curious though. When you were young, a teenager, photographer, what were you photographing back then?
Well, like any 15 to 16-year-old testosterone-fueled, hormonal 16, 17-year-old, all you want to photograph is half-naked women. That's, as a guy, is the best chat-up line in history. And you end up photographing babies, children, and weddings. It was everything. It's always been GP, general purpose studio. It's actually funny. I speak to a photographer in the UK a couple of weeks ago, and myself as a photographer or studio owner, I am part of a dying breed because I can go from literally a baby shoot to a family shoot to a superhero shoot to a boudoir shoot to a fashion shoot to a teen shoot to a commercial headshot shoot to a wedding to a bar mitzvah. You can throw me in any environment and I'll work my way around it. Right, forensic, no. And I wouldn't dream if someone said photograph this room.
Oh my God.
No, that's commercial high end. I leave that to different people. And I've said that. But I've been in a helicopter with a customer who wanted me to photograph some of his properties. I don't say no. And there's a good friend of ours and our Texan ambassador, Shooter Photography. And he actually did a talk in our convention we ran last year called Click Live. And it was basically called Fuck the Niche. You can bleep it if you need to. Because
that's been cursed.
he doesn't believe in niche photography. His studio literally does anything that anybody wants. And if we have a camera, I get some people, oh, we do weddings. I was, oh, do you do flowers? No. I don't see why, unless you are fully booked, every wedding, every slot, you don't need the money at all. If that wedding couple that spent $5,000 with you then have a baby and want you to photograph that baby or child, I can't see the logic of turning it away. That's why hotel chains have Hilton Garden Inn, Hilton, Holiday Inn Express, Holiday Inn. They want to cater to their customer every part of their world. So if they're plush, they've got the high end of the market for them. If they haven't, or they recommend friends who can't afford it, they've got lower end. And for me as a photographer, just photograph whatever. It doesn't matter. I had a business partner. Oh, I won't do a baby. Oh, I won't do this. Oh, I won't do that. Oh, they're not going to do this. They're the wrong age for that. That's what I get a lot of. We've got studios in our group that won't do a makeover shoot for anybody under 18. My best makeovers are my 15, 16-year-olds, obviously with the parents there. My worst makeover shoot is a 19, 20, 21-year-old student that comes on their own because they haven't got any money. Remember, we don't have the high school senior market in the UK. It doesn't exist. If that didn't exist in the US, that would probably be a third of the studios out of business or struggling.
Absolutely.
High school seniors is a huge business in America.
What's a business in the UK that is not something common here in the States?
There isn't anything.
Nothing.
The US lead the photography market worldwide, in my opinion. British people. And someone said, why do we not have the high school senior market in the UK? I think it's because so high school senior is 17, 18.
Around there, yeah.
So 17 and 18-year-old British kids are just not as confident as 17 and 18-year-old American kids. They just not as outgoing. I mean, I watched Shark Tank, the American Dragon's Den, first time the other day. And you've got people coming out with pictures. This 15-year-old kid comes out. I have 4 patents. I have this, that. The sharks were clamoring to invest. They actually offered them twice the amount of money they even asked for. 15-year-old kid in the UK, blah, 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 they just haven't got that push. America, and that's why I love coming to the US, because I love the confidence that the US has. The patriotism, the US flag everywhere, people's homes. We don't even have that in the UK. And that's what I love, is that confidence. That goes through to the photo shoots. That goes through to the photo market. That goes through to, just look what they do for 60th birthday parties here. It's all about, in the UK, a lot of the kids wouldn't want it. They're too introverted and shy and, timid. So that's always been a big thing for us. And we've tried, there's been lots of people that have tried to bring that market to the UK. They don't want it.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's good. I'm actually going to ask other people that are from different markets that question, see how it differs and their perspective on it, because I didn't know it was that drastic of a difference.
Yeah, it's big. I mean, the weddings is weddings.
Right.
If you're a wedding photographer, you would probably struggle in a recession because people just live together, have children, just won't get married. So as a wedding photographer, you just won't get those weddings. I think as a newborn photographer, people will always want newborn photography, and it's time sensitive. So niches like that, like boudoir, there are time limits and, that people want. But as a market to market, apart from the US market being so big, so much bigger, the actual quality of photography is very similar. The UK is very high level photography, as does the US compared to some other countries that I know. But styles are quite similar. We don't have as much environmental photography as you have in the US because our weather is normally grey and drizzly a lot of the time. It's a great advert for British tourism. But, there's a lot more of that in the US than we have in the UK, and I don't blame them. If your studio's on a beach, why would you want to shoot everything indoors? It makes no sense at all. So that's mainly the main differences. But, it is just a much more buoyant market here from our point of view, which is why 80% of our backdrop turnover is here.
Explains the trade shows a little bit more, because I've been to a few and I understand who's coming and why they're here. I just didn't know that the US had that big in a market in comparison to other parts of the world. I'm going to ask this question to Gary, and I'll ask it to you first.
Okay.
What's a story that not many people know about Gary that you can tell?
Well, apart from being ex-police, he's also, annoyingly, an international DJ, a metalsmith,
That's pretty cool.
by trade a carpenter joiner. He's one of these people that just does all these different things.
Is he your set designer, building stuff?
Well, he can. Oh, he loves it when I book him for a one-to-one training for a photographer in the UK. And I say, oh, by the way, while you're there, you're setting up their backdrop roller system as well. So we take the drill, the hammer, the set, he's good like that. He's one of these people that can just do it. And that's why he's, my right hand at the business, next in control of the company. I forgot to say, after the COVID scenario, the next step was bringing him in full time. And he actually moved. Luckily, he had a girlfriend who lived an hour from us. So he took that transition and moved down from the north to the south, which he does miss.
So he's a Winterfell now.
Yeah, something like that. And he does not like the big smoke of London. We're just outside of London in Hertfordshire. But that is the annoying thing about him. He just does this, all of it, which is pretty annoying, and the funny thing is, the first thing he ever did when he joined is he said, I'm not a salesperson. Well, I'm not a salesperson, but being next to me on all the trade shows now, I do get a little hint of a smile when I'm over here and he's talking to a customer. I can hear some of my lines and some of my personality of sales has rubbed off on him, because it is funny, especially him being of Romani Gypsy descent and me being Jewish. I'm now teaching him Yiddish as well. And when you see this big tattooed up northern man going, how things get, not so bad, and it is quite funny. It is almost like a joke, the Jew and the Gypsy walks into a shop. But it is quite funny. You should ask him what he knows in Yiddish. He'll come out, and the best is when he gets it all ass upwards. But it's funny. It is fun, and also because he's so huge, it is like walking everywhere with a bodyguard. It's pretty good. It's pretty cool.
That. I like that. Can't wait to talk to him. I can't wait to talk to you
Yeah.
both. How do people find the backdrop, your photo work, so I can put it on the screen?
So click backdrops.co.uk. The studio is Fresh Academy.
Okay.
Is the name of the studio. Yeah, that's a nice little thing. There you go. Click backdrops. And that's where it is. And Charlie Kaufman, my name. Not like the American director. Like that, you can catch me on Instagram, Facebook, and just reach out. The nicest thing is, as I said right at the beginning, we have face and people behind the brand.
Right.
We're a brand owned and run by photographers for photographers, and that will not change. People have tried to change that with us.
It didn't work.
It's not happening. That to me is more important. I could be a lot more financially well off than I am if I did what other people wanted me to do. And it's not where we're going. We're staying where we are and true to the nature of the business, 100%.
I love it. Charlie, thank you for the time. Good morning.
Thank you.
For stopping by.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.